Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more hot Empire action in Total War Warhammer 2. Yes, indeed, we're here with a steam tank. We've got Balthazar Gelt, all the memes indeed. This is actually a battle from one of my streams a couple weeks back. It was a very fun battle, and I didn't get the chance to cast it separately. I know not all of you guys watch the streams, so I did want to bring this one to you guys because I know you guys like the Empire, you like steam tanks. We've also got a couple of great cannons, some handgunners to support them, a whole line of spearmen and swordsmen, 2 witch hunters, and of course Balthazar. He's got a Plague of Rust and Final Transmutation, 2 units of Empire Knights as well. For my Dwarven opponent, we've got Dwarf Warriors getting shelled in the front line, some Trollhammer torpedoes, which I'm going to start focus firing immediately, as they are the biggest threat to the steam tank. Also got plenty of Dwarf Warriors, Longbeards, Rangers, pretty decent army overall, Rune Lord. But yeah, my opponent getting a little bit blobbed up on the advance here, and I'm definitely going to try and punish him for that as much as possible. Focus firing with the cannons on those Iron Drakes, been able to already take down quite a few unit models. And, oh, looks like he's actually dodging some shots there. But, yeah, the Dawi are going to go ahead and close the gap here. We've also got the Dragonback Slayers, it looks like. Handgunners able to open up from the high ground. Fortunately, the Dawi did not bring any counter-artillery this time around, and definitely going to regret it. Against the Empire, I would pretty much always recommend at least 1 cannon. In a situation like this, though, my idea was that I had the great cannons to counter battery fire, and I could have, you know, between the steam tank and those 2, outshot, you know, at least 1 dwarf cannon, maybe 2. It's tough to say. Some people bring even 3 or more dwarf cannons in this matchup, but the Slayer is going to pull back, not wanting to engage in the swordsman, with the swordsman rather in the front line, which is probably pretty smart. But yeah, the handgunners and other units just going to open up. The dwarves kind of sitting back, deciding how they want to attack here. So I'm going to send some of my forces forward, keep some of them in reserve, just kind of try and break up their advance a little bit. Swordsmen and spearmen coming up and around the flank here, and the handgunners might be able to fire in here. It looks like they maybe don't have the best line of sight potentially, but Final Transmutation going down. Yep, Overcast Final Transmutation. There's no characters in here, but it still will do quite a bit of damage to all these units. Likewise, though, the swordsmen getting blasted by blasting charges and just wrecked by Dwarf Warriors, so not the best, but my opponent, again, a little bit blobbed up here in the center. Is going to mean that those cannon shots are probably more punishing than they otherwise would have been, but the Witch Hunter might get surrounded here. He's going to have to be a little bit careful, but as it is right now, he is able to shoot in and pick off those dwarf units from the side. More blasting charges, just going to wreck through those spearmen there, doing a ton of damage. And likewise, the handgunners continuing to whittle away at these dwarf warriors here. So yeah, dwarves in this situation probably wouldn't want to necessarily just sit back and shoot. But my opponent now, since I've brought up so many units to kind of break up his advance, is going to have a hard time advancing regardless. You can see the Empire Knights collapsing from the side here, making sure those Rangers can't fire effectively. The Slayers are going to try and come in and respond, but yeah, we've got plenty more units in the tank here. Unfortunately, obviously, my infantry are going to suffer pretty badly here, but Balthazar still online. The steam tank we're going to now bring into melee to see if we can't get some terror routes going and, you know, get some other shenanigans going in that way. The Rune Lord, though, definitely supporting here, able to hold things together a little bit, but the Slayers obviously aren't what I want my Knights fighting, so I'm going to pull them back here. This unit of Knights already been taken out, so definitely some give and take. The balance power creeping slightly in my favor, but the Dwarves are definitely not out of this yet. This is exactly what he needs to do for the cannons, which is to use the Rangers to take them out. Cannon crews are pretty squishy, and this kind of counter-ranged fire will be able to take them down very, very well. So yeah, actually destroys one of the artillery pieces, which is quite impressive, all things considered. This unit of handgunners is getting compromised by Longbeards as well, so I'm going to try and bog them up with Balthazar. Meanwhile, over here, swordsmen chasing off some routing dwarf warriors. We've got these handgunners able to fire in effectively on the flank as the steam tank kind of plows through. It'll leave this flank nice and exposed for the gunners to shoot in. And yeah, going to start using the steam tank more like a chariot at this point. Obviously, the steam gun will continue to fire as it kind of pulls through. But nice little rear charge here on these dwarf warriors. That steam gun doesn't do the most armor-piercing damage, but it's decent. You can see the dwarves kind of trying to reform the lines a little bit here. Empire Knights will do very well against the Rangers because of their lower armor, so I'm going to take advantage of that situation there. The handgunners were able to get secured, and now up on the high ground, unleashing a volley down onto the dwarves below, who are currently fighting Balthazar. He is taking some damage here, but he's fine to take this fight for just a moment. Spearmen are then going to run in and hold the line here, so yeah, very, very favorable situation for the Empire here, at the expense of those Longbeards. But you can see the Great Cannon routed off. The Empire Knights are back, but at this point the Dwarves don't really have a whole lot that can deal with the steam tank. I mean, there are still a few Trollhammer torpedoes online, but that's why I've been focusing on them with my cannons primarily, because of course they are the biggest threat to the steam tank. If I can take them out, there aren't really too many units that can finish the steam tank. Obviously the Slayers might be able to do some work as well, but the Dragonback Slayers have already taken a lot of damage, so I'm not too worried about them at this point. So yeah, we'll just kind of admire the craftsmanship of the Empire as they take it to the Dwarves here. Steam tank definitely pretty good in this matchup, and like I said, if the Dwarves don't have the tools to deal with it, it can be extremely hard to take out. But like I said, those Trollhammer torpedoes look like they're trying to do what they can. They are actually doing a little bit of damage here. Rune of Wrath and Ruin as well will do a few ticks. It's not going to be anything super special, but yeah, this dwarf kind of pocket here in the center, we're going to continue firing in with the Great Cannon. The steam tank charges in, and we're going to get a devastating final transmutation here because my opponent is still a little bit blobbed up. A very nice overcast. It does do a bit of damage to Balthazar himself, but yeah, it's going to finish off those Iron Drakes, rather, and that means the cannon will be able to, or sorry, the steam tank will be able to just kind of fight with impunity here. It is actually taking some damage. Interestingly enough, the Ekron's Miners are actually kind of a threat here because they actually don't have terrible stats. The steam tank only has 10 melee defense. These Ekron's Miners can actually do some good armor-piercing damage with their 23 melee attack. Not bad at all, especially if that Frenzy pops back up. Then, of course, they get even more melee attack. But Balthazar getting a little bit aggressive here, going after this dwarf pocket, getting friendly fired by the cannons, and then immediately just gets karate chopped by the Rune Lord here. So, rest in peace, Balthazar. We will remember you always. I always seem to do that when I take Balthazar. It's just to get him absolutely killed somehow. But his, his gunpowder troops, seeing their general fall, are going to be incensed and double time on the reload. Just unleash hell into this pocket here from all sides. Witch hunters, cannons, handgunners, steam guns, all of the above. Just pouring in fire here at the expense of the dwarves, and of course the state troops also following up as well. The giant rout, that's pretty much going to be it, and just the Dragonback Slayers getting finished off here. Ooh, he's going down swinging though. Maybe. Gets poked in the beard a few times and decapitated by a spear. So there we go. Oh man, gotta love Total War Warhammer, and this game is awesome. Very well played to my opponent as well, Iron Thunder. Like I said, just a little bit of positioning errors there, getting a little bit blobbed up, which is, against cannons especially, that can punish you really hard because it's just going to pass through all of those unit models and kill all of them. So you definitely want to try and spread out a little bit. Likewise, I think you want to bring at least 1 to 2 cannons in this matchup against the Empire. You know, you're going to at least face heavy cavalry or steam tanks, you know, maybe some counter fire artillery. So definitely a good idea to have the cannons there, but nonetheless, still pretty decent build overall, nice and wide, which is always good for the Dawi. Unfortunately, just the cannons here not able to get to it. 171 kills on Balthazar as well between those 2 overcast final transmutations, both of the witch hunters as well. When you see these guys on the field, they're not super expensive, but you do need to dedicate some resources if you can catch them to try to take them out, because if you let them use up all their ammo and their charges, even accusation against units that it's not meant for, it's really meant against low model count, but you can use it against infantry, even infantry that have magic resistance for that matter, against the dwarves. It will still do some damage. So if you let those witch hunters use up those charges of accusation and all their ammo, it's just a lot of damage output, as you can see. And yeah, it's definitely something that you have to be aware of. But of course the state troops more or less just got run over, as you would expect. Handgunners able to get some respectable kills as well for my opponent. The front line did pretty decently. Unfortunately, the Iron Drakes just really not able to take out the one high value target they really needed to. They also could have done pretty well against the Knights as well, but was forced into a really rough situation there because I was trying to focus fire on them primarily. So yeah, in terms of the dwarf build, like I said, definitely would recommend a couple cannons. The Trollhammer torpedoes are not a bad idea, but they do face the risk of counterfire. So if we go ahead and have a look here, Rune Lord's not a bad idea. I might even take just a regular Lord, but certainly the Rune Lord with just the Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin can be very cost effective. And then I'm going to take a couple of cannons. The Trollhammer torpedoes are not a bad idea, so I'm going to take a couple of them as well. I like the pick of the Rangers also. They can definitely counterfire very effectively. Dwarf Warriors are super cost effective in this matchup, as are Miners if they get a couple good volleys of blasting charges. We're even going to lay in the Ekron's Miners as well. Then this gives us a little bit of funds left over to try and grab some Slayers. Yeah, we don't quite have enough for a second unit, so maybe I do cut this down to a regular miner. Then we can get a second Slayer, and now we have a full stack of Dwarves. And we've got pretty much all our bases covered. Lots of infantry. Granted, they're not great, but they'll at least hold out for some time. We've got some ranged fire, some artillery, a few anti-large units, and some specialist ranged units as well. Something like this I think could be pretty effective, but you know, if A-Move Hacker, Shetland Apache, if any of you guys are watching, feel free to suggest any edits to this build as well. But that's pretty much my thoughts. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.